Have you ever wondered if the pain you feel from aging isn't because time is cruel, but because you believed it wouldn't change you? They told you to fear the wrinkles, to chase after what was never meant to stay. But what if I told you the sorrow was never in growing old? It was in clinging to what was never truly yours. The Buddha whispered of this long ago, that nothing we touch can stay. And yet, within that vanishing lies a truth so powerful, so gentle, it could set you free. But only if you stop running and dare to listen. Would you stay just a little longer if what I'm about to tell you could change the way you see your entire life? You will be forgotten sooner than you think, and that's okay. In the quiet moments when the noise of the world fades, when we sit alone with our thoughts, there is often a haunting realization that whispers through the corridors of our minds. One day, we will be forgotten. Our names will not echo in eternity. Our faces will not be carved into monuments. Our stories may drift into the mist of time. This truth, stark and unrelenting, unsettles the ego, the part of us so deeply woven with the desire to matter, to leave a mark that will stand unmoved against the tides of oblivion. And yet, the deeper current of life moves not by the preservation of names, but by the unseen, intangible ripples we create in each fleeting interaction. Imagine a river at dawn. Golden mist rising. Waters shimmering in endless motion. A single stone tossed into the stream does not halt the river's journey, but it sends gentle ripples across its surface, momentarily altering its song. So too with us. Every act of kindness, every quiet forgiveness, every moment of compassion, these are our true legacies, not bound to the brittle monuments of memory, but woven into the eternal fabric of existence. When we live in search of recognition, chasing validation like a thirsty traveler chasing a mirage, we build our homes on sand. Applause fades. Statues crumble. History forgets. But when we live simply, fully, selflessly, when our lives become less about making a name, and more about making a difference, then we transcend the small self. The river of life does not honor the stone for how grand it was, but for how it shaped the waters even briefly. The ancient Zen masters understood this. In their monasteries tucked among the misty mountains, they whispered truths that still echo across centuries. Do not seek to be remembered. Seek to remember the sacredness of each breath. The old monk smiling at a cherry blossom. The young disciple sweeping the courtyard in silence. No plagues. No praises. And yet, the peace they sowed ripples outward still. Picture it. A single hand offering food to a hungry stranger. A few words easing the heart of someone unseen. A laugh shared in a forgotten corner of the world. These are not small acts. They are sacred. They become part of the invisible river that nourishes generations unborn. You, right now, may have touched countless lives you will never meet, in ways you will never know. Perhaps a moment of patience kept a heart from breaking. Perhaps a gesture of generosity rekindled someone's hope. And so, when the fear arises, will anyone remember me? Offer it compassion. Then gently release it. You were never meant to be a monument. You were meant to be a movement. A living, breathing part of the vast, luminous unfolding of life. The goal is not to be immortalized. It is to love so deeply, live so kindly, that your absence still hums with your presence, in ways no history book could capture. When you walk through a forest, do you stop to name every tree, every blade of grass, every bird call? And yet, the forest nourishes you. It restores you. It shelters life unseen. Be that forest. Be that quiet, nurturing presence. Let go of the need for name or fame. And instead, pour yourself into the moment before you, with all the tenderness you can muster. In this way, you will never truly be forgotten, because you will have become part of the living breath of the world itself. There is a profound freedom in surrendering the need to be remembered. Suddenly, life is not a race to make a mark, but an invitation to dance lightly, to move gently, to offer and to receive without expectation. Suddenly, every smile, every word, every choice becomes sacred, simply because it is, not because it will be enshrined. And in the end, isn't that the purest legacy? To have lived so fully, so freely, so lovingly, that the world, without ever knowing your name, is somehow softer, because you passed through it. Your body will betray you, befriend it instead. There will come a day, if it hasn't already, when you wake and find that the body you once wore like a beloved garment now fits you differently. Movements that were once effortless demand thought. Joints ache where once they soared. The mirror reflects not the invincible youth you remember, but a face shaped by time, by weather, by laughter, by tears. And in that moment, it is so easy to feel betrayed, as if the body, your oldest and most faithful companion, has turned against you, as if it has defected from your cause. But pause, breathe, listen more deeply. The body has not betrayed you. It has simply kept its promise to the natural laws that govern all things. It has honored impermanence with grace and dignity, even as we raged against it. The body, like an old clay pot, weathered by use and seasons, bears the cracks and stains of a life fully lived. And yet, it still holds water. It still carries love, memory, joy, grief. It is not the body's failing that wounds us. It is our refusal to accept its sacred evolution. Think of how long your body has served you. Before you were even conscious of it, your heart began to beat. Your lungs drew breath. Your tiny hands clutched the world with wonder. It carried you through first steps, first loves, first heartbreaks. It healed wounds you thought would never mend. It endured illnesses, labors, stresses you scarcely acknowledged. It celebrated with you in laughter. It mourned with you in tears. It has never asked for more than your presence, your care, your forgiveness. And now, as the seasons turn, it simply asks for gentler treatment. It asks to be honored, not for what it once was, but for what it still is. A sacred vessel of life and experience. Imagine greeting your aging body, not with scorn or regret, but with deep, reverent gratitude. Imagine touching each wrinkle with awe, each scar with tenderness. Imagine thanking your knees, your hands, your feet, for carrying you so far, through so much. You would not shout at an old tree for shedding its leaves. You would not curse a river for carving a gentler path. Why then rage at your own natural becoming? In Buddhism, there is a beautiful teaching about non-attachment to the form. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. This does not mean the body is meaningless. It means the body is a miracle, precisely because it is changing, precisely because it is temporary, because it teaches us, more vividly than anything else, that everything precious is to be cherished now, not clung to. If you listen closely, your body will whisper its wisdom. It will tell you when to rest, when to move, when to be still, when to stretch toward the sun. Like an old, wise tree, it will invite you to adapt, to soften, to savor what remains, rather than mourn what has passed. Consider this: a cracked pot may no longer hold water perfectly, but the water it spills nourishes the earth. So too, what seems like loss, the slowing down, the forgetting, the changing, is simply another way of giving back to life, another way of belonging. When you feel the frustration of aching joints or blurred vision, pause. Place your hand over your heart. Feel it still beating, steadfast, a drummer in the great symphony of life. Feel the breath moving in and out, the ancient tide still carrying you. You are not broken. You are ripening. You are deepening into the very heart of existence. So care for your body as you would an ancient, beloved friend. Speak to it kindly. Feed it lovingly. Move it gently. Rest it gratefully. Listen to its stories, written in every line, every bruise, every ache. These are not signs of defeat. They are badges of honor. And remember, the spirit within you, the light, the laughter, the love, is untouched by the softening of flesh. If anything, it grows stronger, more luminous, as the outer form fades. It is not your skin, or your muscles, or your bones, that make you radiant. It is the way you inhabit them, the way you wear your time with dignity, the way you continue to offer your presence to the world, even as the years unfurl. In the end, the body's betrayal is not betrayal at all. It is a faithful unfolding of the covenant it made with life, to carry you through, to change with you, to be your partner on the journey home. Honor it, befriend it, walk beside it with tenderness. And when the day comes, as it must for all of us, when the body can walk no further, may you look back, not with regret, but with overwhelming gratitude, knowing you loved your faithful companion well. You can't keep everyone in your life, and that's natural. There is a quiet ache we all carry, often tucked into the corners of our hearts, where the light of words rarely touches. The ache of people we have lost, not always to death, more often to time, to distance, to change, to life. People who once felt like permanent fixtures in our story, who laughed with us beneath golden trees, who cried with us through winter storms, slowly, quietly, began to drift away. And for a long time, we tried to hold them in place, through effort, through memory, through longing. But the current was always stronger than our grip. You see, relationships are like rivers. Some are swift, brief, and bright. They sparkle, then vanish into the earth. Others are long and winding, cutting deep paths through years of shared joy and sorrow. But no matter their shape or span, all rivers flow. None are meant to stand still. None are meant to stay with us forever. And this is not a cruelty. It is simply the nature of things. The Buddha taught impermanence, not just as an abstract truth, but as a direct experience of daily life. The friends who move away, the family who grows distant, the lover who changes, the child who grows up and no longer needs you in the same way. These are not failures of love. They are simply expressions of it, in new forms. And when we begin to accept this, not only intellectually, but viscerally, with the whole trembling openness of our hearts, a profound peace begins to arise. The kind that doesn't cling. The kind that holds gently. Like cupping water in your palms. Without trying to trap it. Imagine this. A bird perches on your open hand. If you grip too tightly, you crush it. If you stay open, it may fly away, yes. But it may also return, again and again. Or perhaps it doesn't. But the song it sang while resting there will echo within you, long after it's gone. That's what real love does. It sings while it's near. And it blesses, even as it departs. Too often, we equate love with permanence. As if the measure of a bond is its duration. As if staying means more than being truly present while together. But the deeper truth is this. Love is not measured in time. It is measured in depth. In presence. In the way two souls meet fully. Even if only for a moment. Think of the people who've come into your life. Like passing seasons. The friend who sat with you through heartbreak. The teacher who believed in you when no one else did. The stranger whose smile kept you going when you were barely holding on. They did not stay, but they mattered. And just because someone no longer walks beside you does not mean their footprint has disappeared from your path. Some people are chapters. Some are sentences. Some are single, shimmering words. And all of them belong. There's an old Buddhist parable. A young monk asked his master, "Why do people leave us when we love them?" The master led him to a quiet stream and pointed to the flowing water. "See this river," he said. "Some drops travel together for miles. Others part ways quickly. But none stay in one place. This is not betrayal. This is life." The young monk stared into the moving water, watching how some eddies joined, how others split apart. He felt sadness rise. And then, something softer beneath it. Acceptance. Because when we stop demanding permanence from that which is impermanent, we begin to appreciate it for what it truly is. A gift. A miracle. A fleeting, sacred meeting point in the vast ocean of existence. And so, to love truly, to love in the way that frees rather than binds, is to let go. Let go. Not in bitterness. Not in apathy. But in reverence. To say, "You were here. And I am grateful. You may go now. And I still love you." That is strength. That is wisdom. But this kind of letting go requires immense courage. Because it means facing the empty space someone once filled. It means sitting in the silence where laughter used to live. It means standing by the door with nothing in your hands but memory, and still choosing to keep the door open. Why? Because the heart does not close. When someone leaves, it expands. It learns to carry absence with grace. It learns to hold not just presence, but the echo of presence. The way your grandmother's voice still speaks to you when you are kind. The way your old friend's laugh resurfaces when the wind hits just right. The way a song, a scent, a certain slant of light can awaken 1,000 stories no one else remembers, but you do. And that remembering is its own kind of reunion. So do not think you have failed because someone drifted away. Do not believe you were not enough because a connection ended. People are not possessions. They are fellow travelers. Some will walk with you through entire lifetimes. Others will appear for one sunrise and never return. Both are sacred. What matters is not how long someone stays, but how open you were while they were there. Did you listen fully? Did you love generously? Did you see them? Truly see them? Beyond your hopes and expectations? If so, then the relationship fulfilled its purpose. Whether it lasted a minute or a millennium. And now, perhaps, it is time to let it flow, to release the grip, to stop clinging to ghosts. There's a line from a Zen poem: the cherry blossom falls, not because it is weak, but because it trusts the wind. Trust the wind, dear soul. Let the people who need to leave, leave. And let those who remain be cherished, not as anchors, but as blessings. And open your heart wide, wide open to those yet to come, because the beauty of the river is not in how long a single drop stays, but in how endlessly it flows. You no longer look young, and that's a gift. True beauty transcends the mirror. It escapes the narrow definitions laid upon it by glossy magazines, filtered images, and the shallow gaze of the hurried world. As age arrives, and youth begins its gentle departure, something remarkable takes its place. A deeper kind of radiance, one not seen, but felt. The wrinkles around your eyes? They are not imperfections. They are carvings of joy and grief, sculpted by years of smiling at sunrises and weeping at goodbyes. Each line has a name, a story, a memory. They are sacred tattoos of experience. Silver hair does not mean decline. It is a crown of endurance. It reflects the moonlight of your nights of reflection, of the countless times you stayed strong when life asked more of you than you thought you could give. Where others see fading, the awakened eye sees ripening. There is a tenderness that lives only in the voice of the aged. The pace slows, the pauses lengthen, but within those quiet spaces is the presence of someone who has lived, who has endured, who has learned. When an elder speaks, even briefly, the world should lean in. Their beauty is in their gravity, not in how tight their skin is, or how straight their back stands. Youth dazzles, yes, but it dazzles like fireworks. Brilliant, brief, burning out. The beauty of age is like the moon, calm, constant, illuminating in softer tones. It does not scream for attention. It invites reverence. Think of the hands of an old woman. Worn, maybe gnarled, but those hands have held children, harvested food, comforted friends, sewn clothes, written letters, turned pages of sacred books. There is an elegance in that history that no lotion or serum could ever recreate. Beauty in age is the grace to listen deeply, to not rush toward your own reply, to sit in silence with another and make them feel seen without speaking. That presence, that emotional spaciousness, is what makes an elder glow. Our culture, in its obsession with youth, has forgotten the quiet power of the aged. But in Buddhist thought, aging is not just accepted, it is revered. It is through aging that we shed distractions. We move from the external to the internal, from appearance to essence. A young face may be admired, but a weathered face, softened by compassion and wisdom, commands trust. It says, "I have walked through fire and still smile." That is beauty. Let us reclaim this sacred view. Let us stop apologizing for looking our age. Let us stop hiding behind dyes and knives. and filters. Let us instead celebrate the miracle of still being here. Not despite our wrinkles, but because of them. Your age is your gift to the world. It means you have stories. You have survived. You have something to offer that no youth ever could. The clarity of hindsight, the serenity of acceptance, the generosity of someone who no longer needs to prove anything. You will witness more loss, but love never dies. With each passing year, we lose more. People we love, dreams we once held, pieces of ourselves we didn't think we could live without. And there are moments, many of them, when grief wraps itself around us like a thick fog, and we wonder if we can keep going. But within that fog, there is something sacred, something enduring, something the Buddha understood deeply, that while loss is certain, love is not lost with it. Those who have left this world still live within us. Their voices echo in the chambers of memory. Their gestures reappear in our own. Their kindness, their laughter, the way they stirred tea or touched our shoulder, it becomes part of us, as real as breath. Grief, then, is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of love, a deep, aching reverence for the ones who shaped our hearts. Buddhism teaches us not to resist grief, but to bow to it, to hold it with tenderness, to let it move through us like a tide, carving deeper capacity for compassion. The love we shared does not end with the body. It becomes story. It becomes legacy. It becomes the reason we extend a hand to someone else, the reason we know how to forgive, the reason we hold a little tighter, listen a little longer. In this way, those who are gone are never really gone. They live in our choices, in our kindness, in the way we carry ourselves through the world. And so yes, we will lose more chairs will sit empty, more birthdays will be spent in silence, but love will always remain. It is not bound to form. It does not expire. It does not age. It simply transforms. It moves. It radiates from within. In the monastery of life, we are both student and teacher of this truth. To love is to lose, but also to remember, and in remembering, we keep love alive. Let your grief be your guide. Let it teach you softness. Let it open your heart, even as it breaks. For every tear shed is a thread in the vast tapestry of human connection. And when your time comes, may the love you gave return to you 1,000-fold, not in names etched in stone, but in the warm eyes of those you leave behind, in their laughter, in their healing, in their peace. So now, perhaps you understand. Aging was never the enemy. The wrinkles, the silver hair, the quieter mornings, they are not punishments. They are proof that you have loved, that you have lost, that you have truly lived. Each crease upon your face is a lesson etched by time. Each gray strand, a thread woven with wisdom. Every softened breath is a hymn, a reminder that you're still here, still becoming, still worthy of wonder. And maybe, just maybe, the sorrow you once felt when looking in the mirror was never about aging at all, but about forgetting that growing old is a privilege denied to many. Do not spend another day mourning what has passed. Instead, give thanks for what remains, and even more, for what is still to come. Because peace doesn't come from holding on. It comes from letting go with grace. From embracing impermanence, not as loss, but as the soft unfolding of something deeper. So laugh freely. Love openly. Share your stories, even if your voice trembles. And write the next chapter, not with fear, but with a pen dipped in courage. Aging isn't the end. It's a new beginning. A quieter one. A wiser one. And it's yours to write. If this message touched your heart even just a little, then I invite you to stay with us. Subscribe to Whisper of Age. And let's walk this gentle path together. With stories, with silence, with compassion, and with peace. Because this isn't just a channel. It's a sanctuary. For those who still believe that wisdom is more beautiful than youth. And that it's never too late to live a life that's full of light.